All right, guys, what's up? Trevor here, Paradise Skate Mag podcast, and today I got the wonderful, the man, the myth, the mystery, the legendary Mark Baker here, guys.
Hi guys, how you doing? Good to be here with you.
So Mark Baker, if you guys don't know, old school skater, UK legendary, verse skater, skated with Tony Alva back in the day, back before you guys were probably born. Most of you guys that are watching this.
I mean, we had big boards like this, and started skating pools, pipes, climbing into people's gardens to skate pools. Back in the Dogtown days, there was the whole Dogtown movement, which was in Los Angeles, Venice, California, and then obviously the popularity of skateboarding in 1976, 77, 78 grew. Obviously Stacy Peralta, Tony Alva, Jay Adams, Jimmy Plumer, Hackett, Steve Olson, legendary guys who started the whole vertical skate movement, of which today, we have Olympics, which was just fucking unimaginable back then because we were little terrorists and they just wanted to arrest us all the time. But and at the same time, there's this phenomenon, skateboarding just went crazy across the world. And I was in a seaside town called Brighton in England, and of course London, Brighton, Bristol. The skate movement sort of just, it's like a tidal wave across England, the UK, and across Europe. And we started to build our own ramps. We watched Skateboarder magazine and eventually Thrasher magazine, and see our heroes in the mags, try and emulate them and build our own rickety old pipe, which is why I laugh these days, because you guys have got fucking perfect pipes and perfect pulls, and perfect transitions. And I mean, dude, like the fucking shit we were skating on, it was like you took your life in your hands. And then we were inventing tricks. We were inventing, first to ride vertical, and then rock and rolls came in, and then roll-ins came in, and then ollies and hand plants and all of that stuff. I gotta say, I think that the younger generation gets it, but we invented that shit. We didn't know it could be done. When you see somebody do a trick or an aerial or whatever, I mean, the shit they're doing now is just fucking bonkers. Like bigger, better, higher, but you've got the transitions and the nice part, and somewhat, it can be done. I mean, how do you invent a hand plant or a verti or an ollie air? How do you just come up with that shit? Well, that's what we had to do because when we started skating, and then it was very competitive. The whole of Europe was very competitive, and then of course there was the Americans, and their blue skies and their fucking great outfits, and we just had fucking rain and snow and cops chasing us everywhere. So it was just the whole birth of skateboarding was just a cultural phenomenon. We were coming in '78. It was around the punk era. The Sex Pistols, the Clash. All those crazy fucking punk bands. And then you still had the mods and the rockers. The guys drive the scooters, the rockers with the leather and the bikes, and then the skinheads who just wanted to fight everybody all the time. And then all the time, English youth culture likes to fight. We go to soccer matches and we fight each other. That's your rite of passage as a kid. So we were just fighting all the time. Either that or robbing and stealing, and God knows what we were doing on the streets of England. And then skateboarding came along, and as youth kids on the streets all the time, there was either get into trouble, do drugs, and then skateboarding came along, so we had something to do, and we just plowed all our energy into skateboarding, which was just, I'd be in prison for the rest of my life, as opposed to just a couple of years, if skateboarding hadn't come along. And I just had all this time, I'd been expelled or asked to leave from every school I'd ever been to, including the special ones, the reform ones, the juvies. And I was like 14 years old, and I had no school to go to, and I was just on the street. So, my mum was fucking so beat up by my antics that she just gave up. I'd also just, I had a pretty crazy childhood where I joined a circus when I was 8.5, 9 years old. We traveled a circus for 2 years, Chipperfield Circus, traveling around England. I mean, that's not really normal for a 9-year-old boy to just, the circus comes to town and you just take off with it. But it was, it's been adventure and excitement and madness. I was dressed up as a clown or a monkey in a monkey suit, sitting on top of some fucking precarious van, driving around town with the music blaring, you know, the circus is coming to town. And then every once in a while I have to jump off and go and scare people. And we'd be putting up posters at the circus. And then, you know, obviously when the show, the tent was up, you know, obviously the lions and the tigers and the puppies and the elephants and all of that stuff. But, you know, the circus was a very sinister place. It sounds very glamorous, but it's actually a bunch of murdering, thieving criminals on the run who want to stay anonymous. And back in the 70s in England, the go-to place if you wanted to just disappear from the law was either become what we called a ring boy in the circus. The kids, you know, put all the tents up and trucks and did all the mechanics, or you went with the pikeys in the fair, and then we all fighting each other. People were getting killed and stabbed and God knows what. So it was this wild and crazy, hilarious, tragic, sinister as fuck, entertaining childhood that obviously made me grow up, you know, way before my years, and then trying to put an 11-year-old boy who had pretty much done everything, broken pretty much every commandment, all of them except one or two, and then put him in a school with 11-year-olds. That didn't work, so I was booted immediately, and I just had all this time. So skateboarding came along, it was incredible, and then we started skating. We're getting better and better, and competition started to come along. The boards got better. We started to get the equipment, and we were emulating. I mean, Tony Alva was they made movies about this guy, and Dogtown. So, Lords of Dogtown is one, and the other one is the Dogtown documentary, which is really good. Stacey Peralta, obviously the Bones Brigade. In later years, of course, what's his name? He made more money than all of us.
Oh, Tony Hawk.
Tony,
Course, yeah.
Tony Hawk. He was this fragile, timid, shy kid who, got a ride in at the pool like once every 3 hours because we just snake him all the time.
Yeah.
But look how he turned out. It was great. We've lost a lot along the way, but so we had these competitions, and then we started getting magazines, and suddenly we were like little fucking 15-year-old rock stars, skaters. We'd be traveling around, England, and skate groupies, and of course we acted up. Everyone wanted to see a show, and I was already practiced in putting on a performance, and it started getting. And then I got a manager, and then somebody's like, we want to pay you. You want to pay me to skate? And I was like 15, and then my manager says one day, he goes, Mark, hey, rock and roll. He was this English guy, but he had this American accent. It was very bizarre. His name was Max Lobato. Yeah, man, rock and roll, yeah. I was like, Phil, are you English or American? I'm English, but we'll talk about it. So, and he said, Tony Alva's coming to England, and the guy who's bringing him over, this wonderful guy called Bob Ballou from Powerflex, said, we want to put you guys together to go on tour. What do you think? I was like, what do I fucking think? What do you mean? Go on tour with Tony, me, like Mad Mark and Mad Dog Alva, go on tour? I'm like, you fucking kidding, of course. So Tony came, and we were quite like-minded, and we were both fucking nuts. He was a little older than I am. And we went on tour, and that was it. It took me to a whole nother level. Me and Alva on tour around England, and then I was touring Scandinavia, Europe, Mexico. And then Tony says, when it was done and we'd had so much fun, and I mean, so crazy. I mean, thousands and thousands of people showing up at the shows, and, skate groupies, hot chicks. We were rock and roll stars. It was funny. And I was getting paid for it. So this was my ticket out of villainy and becoming a little gangster. Sure. Well, we were already little gangsters, but jailed gangsters at that point. So he said, you want to come to California? And I said, do I want to come to California? I was like, tomorrow. So he went back, and I bought a ticket. I remember on this airline called Freddie Laker, and it was 49 pounds from Gatwick to Los Angeles. And I was 15 years old. I'd never really traveled anywhere. And that was it. I hopped on a plane, went to California. At the airport, never forget it, Tony comes screeching up in his pickup truck. And, let's go, man. And we went, and we drove immediately to a pool up in the Hollywood Hills that they they used to go to people's houses when there were fires, or if they were on holiday, and just drain the pool and fucking skate the pool, destroy the coping, smash the house up, and then get chased out by the cops. And that was what we did. They used to have fucking helicopters that drive around spotting pools up in the hills. I mean, it was nuts. And then, of course, Win Miller and Warren Bolster and Stesic and Glenn Feynman and all those Casimir, all those legendary photographers would be there at these crazy scenes of these Dogtown guys. And I was living with Tony Alva. And then I spent, a few months there, and then I go back to England. And of course, everything I learned in California, skating with those guys was, and this was at a time when we were just learning all that shit. The Ollier and the hand plants and the rock and rolls and the frontside rock and rolls, and I mean, crazy shit. So I'd come back from Cali and go to contests in England. It was like, stupid, because I'd been practicing, in pools with like 2, 3, 4 meters of vertical, skating the pipes out in the Arizona desert, pools, parks, pipes, all of it, and going to crazy parties, and it was a fucking movie. They made movies about it, so it was just this wonderful, epic time when skateboarding was just, I mean, my God, Mexico. We went to Mexico. We did a show for the governor of Guadalajara, who I recently found out actually he was in the movie. Was like one of the biggest cocaine distributors. He was like fucking, Pablo Escobar's guy in Guadalajara. And I remember him clearly. There was like 25,000 kids showed up, and there was a riot, and the cops were fucking shooting. I mean, it's crazy stuff. And all these adventures, and then we'd go back to England, and then we thought, I was like, this is never going to end. And we had plans, we had boards, and I had trucks and shirts and equipment, and God knows what. And I managed to break out of that circle of violence and criminality which is what happened to kids like us. There was only jail. That was it. You go to jail. And it was just a matter of when, and that was quick. Wifey's here. And that's our host here. Anyway, so I was touring. I was in Scandinavia and all over the world. And we thought skateboarding would never end. And then in the space of 6 months, skateboarding died. Don't ask me how. I think it was, the insurance for the skate parks got really expensive. Rollerblading, I mean, invented that. Sorry, rollerbladers, they're fucking gay.
Right.
Right. And then you were a rollerblader?
No.
Okay. And then so these rollerbladers were coming around, and their disco outfits. And then of course BMX, which is great. And and suddenly we were at skate parks, and the BMXers and the rollerbladers and the skateboarders were all fighting each other, and people were getting hurt and God. Anyway, blah blah. And skateboarding just fucking died. And I was sitting there one day, I was like, what the fuck do I do now? I thought I was going to be a fucking, I was going to be a celebrity forever, but that in a few months I was just sitting in a skate park on my own at Harrow in London.
Crazy.
This crazy, mad 18, 20 foot deep pool with like 6 feet of vertical that people died in. People died in that pool, And, I'm going to, at the end of it, I'm going to send you a link to my website, markbakerskater.com or markbakernewyork.com. And there's a whole chapter, a whole dedicated to those days. I mean, they didn't have cameras in those days, you know what I mean? they barely had photos, let alone video. I don't know video, but we managed to, over the years, assemble tons of videos. So if any of you are interested, there's it's a museum of amazing video and photos from that era, which I think, it is important to learn where skating comes from, to know where it's going to go. So skateboarding died, and that was that. And then I did a couple of stupid things and ended up in prison for a couple of years or a year and a half. And while I was in jail, as a kid, I was 19 years old, I did something stupid. And while that was going on, there was this underground street skate scene because there was no park. So the 80s, this is the 80s now, right? So I was actually not very in touch with it. Now I'm more into, now I see, goosebumps because it was just amazing. So some people just didn't give up, which was amazing. So, Tony Hawk gets mad props for that, for not giving up and keeping skating alive, and Peralta know, some of those Bones kids and all those famous street skaters. Sorry, I don't remember all your names, but you kept skating alive, and amazing. And then, of course, you know, all the skate scene just shifted from pools and pipes and to no competition, street skating, radical skating, using some of our, you know, the tricks like the ollies and all of that, but using it in a street environment. Yeah. And then, of course, you know, popping stairs and you know, handrails and God knows what they do. There was this whole sort of street skate phenomena, which then obviously integrated with music and art and skate culture. It was just amazing. Clothing. Now, so I want to just revert a little because I saw you wear a pair of Vans.
Yeah.
Back in the day, Vans tennis shoes, they were tennis shoes. They were these white tennis shoes that, you know, those fucking rich people used to ping pong on the court, you know. But they had these soles, these crepe soles that if you wore them a few times, they were the best thing to feel your board. You could feel the board. And even if they got tattered, you could feel the board. So a lot of us started using those. Tony was, at that point, I think he was using Nikes. He preferred Nikes. But most of us started using that. But one night, if I can remember it correctly, you know, Tony was sitting in his house in Marina Del Rey, and Tony starts like fucking painting, you know, red and blue and black and white, you know, and he was skating, and then everyone saw him wearing this stuff, and they were, holy fuck, we've got to have them. So Vans started shifting from tennis shoes to skateboard shoes with blue and red, the classic blue and red, black and white. Steve Olson did the checkered black and white. He was one of the first original skate punks, bless him, love him. Yep. Love you, Steve. Santa Cruz, he used to skate with Santa Cruz. And then this whole phenomenon of Vans and every color imaginable. So you had to have every color. So we would go to the factory and fucking, you know, walk out with like 15 pairs of shoes, which I thought was taking the piss. But actually, considering that the sales of Vans, I mean, it's probably the most popular sports shoe in the world, sure. You know, skate shoe for sure. Mm-hmm. And then, so in the evolvement of Vans, I mean, every kid in the world's got, everyone in Indonesia's got Vans. We had a problem when we skated and we bailed. The skate would come down the pool and smack you in the fucking ankle and like break your ankle. So somebody said, well, why don't we just make a high top? So they made Vans high tops with the pads in them. That's how that started. Yeah. It was just all this evolution. And then of course, you know, Vans took off and started sponsoring and getting really involved. Stevie Van Doren, bless him, hi Steve, and all those guys. But, you know, they made an awful lot of money and we got free shoes. So it's a little bit of a niggle, but it is what it is. So go back to street skate. And then, hang on, and then Vision Streetwear came along. And we were like, you know, people wearing baggy shirts and button-ups and long shorts and jackets. I mean, there was a whole fucking stuff. And people started wearing them like in the daytime. I mean, you know, most people were wearing jeans or a suit or whatever. But this was like shoes, baggy pants and button-ups and this. And this became like fucking fashion. And streetwear, of which, you know, Vision was probably one of the first companies. Action sportswear, they called it. And then from there, I mean, skating and skatewear, and then of course snowboarding came in, absolutely changed and revolutionized the fashion industry, hands down across the planet. Everyone had, I mean, this stuff was fucking smart enough to wear out at night, you know. It was stylish. It wasn't just, you know, wearing the rector shorts and then, you know, all of that bollocks, but amazing, incredible. So, you know, action sports skateboarding really had an effect on fashion, music, art, everything. It's just amazing, the culture of skating. And then, of course, hang on, let me have a sip of beer. And then, of course, as the street skating stuff got more popular and more people started skating again, they started to build more parks. And more parks, but good parks this time were great. And beautiful wooden ramps, and they were doing, you know, the tours. I mean, these ramps these days, oh my, no wonder you can get a fucking 10-foot aerial, you know, with a 960 and God knows what they're doing now. Of course it's difficult, but it's a lot easier when you've got a good transition, when you're not going like this to go up to the top. But, you know, hats off to all the kids. And then I think they put snowboarding in the Olympics, and I think the Olympics, from what I remember, the Olympics were really having a hard time with the younger generation. I mean, who wants to watch fucking curling? You know what I mean? So snowboarding became popular. And then somebody suggested skateboarding, and all the Olympic committees were like, absolutely, over our dead bodies, we're going to have snowboarders or skateboarders. Definitely not skateboarders. But then, of course, they, popular opinion, they had to get this new generation, this audience, and Burt Lamar and the guys from Burton, who started all this stuff, amazing, got snowboarding in the Olympics, and of course the stats on television were huge. The audience was massive, so they couldn't deny it. And then somebody says skateboarding, I'm like, oh God, no. And of course, skateboarding in the Olympics has always been a sensitive subject for skaters and everyone else. Half the skate population says, fuck off, we're not skateboarding in the Olympics. And then the other half is like, yeah, it's good because it's good for the sport, and it makes it more legitimate and introduces new people. I personally think there's room for both. Skateboarding is an expression of yourself. It's not really a team sport, it's an individual sport. But I see benefits, there's plus and minuses to Olympic skating. If you want to be a street radical skater, go be a street radical skater. If you want to go fucking terrorize pools and pipes, go do that. If you want to, dress up, be nice, and Sky Brown and all these guys, they're doing great things. It's good. It's all good. It perpetuates skateboarding, so it stays alive. It's an industry, which means that more parks can be built, better equipment can be built. We're not completely considered like total criminals anymore, or getting arrested for skating. Skateboarding's now in the fucking Olympics, so getting stopped in airports for having a skateboard isn't really happening anymore. So
true.
And there we are. So now at my dear age of 63, I do skate occasionally, not so much because everything is broken, my knees, my ankles, my collarbones, my wrists, and of course we never wore helmets or equipment. We never fixed them properly before we went skating again. So, I have a hard time, getting out of bed in the morning. It takes about half an hour to get things moving again. And I did try skate one of the pools here, Pretty Poison, and I was doing pretty good for the first 5 minutes. And then, of course, I thought I was 16 again, and tried to do something, and I fucking, one leg went here, the other again, I couldn't walk for 3 months. So I love watching the kids, when we go to some of the parks. I was here with Steve Olsen and another big pro skater. Really? They knew who we were, and they were really respectful. And then just this year, actually, there's always, the Skateboarding Hall of Fame has always been about the Americans. And, and whilst, 40 years on from 76, 76, 86, 96, 86, 26, it's like 40 years ago, I'd kind of given up on, Europeans or definitely our generation ever being recognized for what we did, which is really unfair, because, European skaters, especially the Brit skaters, had influenced millions of people and kids to skate. We're heroes in our own right. And so finally this year, I was just inducted into the Skateboarding Hall of Fame, along with, the first Brit ever. There were two other Brits that came with me, Mark Sinclair, bless him, Jeremy Henderson, who was a big street skater in New York. He was one of those 80s guys who never stopped skating, Jeremy Henderson. And then one German kid. So then, I get, I'm fabulous for 10 minutes again,
Right.
All the kids are like, stop it, girl. So, which is good. I mean, I love it because it just, number one, I think it gives a little hope to the young kids that, Europe isn't, you don't have to be American or California to be recognized as a skater. Brazil now, Australia, Japan. I mean, my God. But from the old school, it's kind of just never forget where skating started. On the streets, then on the ramps, then in the pools, then in the pipes. And the blood that we laid down, on the streets, literally, to create these tricks. Basically, you can see now in pretty much every trick that's out there right now, there are variations of it, but a handful of us created those things. I mean, can you imagine now you have a pool and you do a roll in backside, or God forbid frontside, which was one of the most deadly things to learn.
Sure.
Now, of course, you just do it. But imagine back in the day, no one had ever done it. You got a pool, and you have to roll in, if you're regular foot, front side. So you're rolling with your back to the pool, and you just have to roll in. Fuck off. I mean, I just fucking hit the bottom of the pool. I mean, there's no going anywhere. You're in, you're committed. Yeah. You're going down like 5 meters onto your fucking head. And I broke so many bones and shoulder blades and ankles and learning those fucking tricks. But when you pulled them off, then it was great. You know, it's like pulling off the first order. Anyway, so lots of good history. And now, you know, it's great to see skateboarding really doing great. And yeah, there we go. So that's skateboarding. That's that chapter.
Amazing. And now we're here in Bali, Indonesia, which is an incredible place. If you guys haven't been yet, definitely come out some point. It's on the other side of the world from most places. It's not too far from Australia. You know, it's actually maybe a 4 or 6 hour flight, depending on what part of Australia you're in. It's kind of Australia's like national holiday destination.
For better or for worse. Right. Yeah, no, Bali's amazing. And you know, and getting just briefly back to the skate, you know, Bali, obviously right now, along with a couple of places in town. But, satu lagi, you want another one?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, dua lagi biar. You know, we've got surf, we've got skaters here, we've got a couple of good parks. Yeah. I was working just before COVID on building a mega park here, like X Games quality, with event space and the full nine. It got shelved because of COVID, but we're looking at it again. I think Bali would be the perfect place to have an X Games type thing with the right facilities. You know, dad can play golf, mum can go to the beach, the kids can skate, you know, and the sisters can go out partying. But, you know, Bali's got everything, so we're really lucky to be here.
It's true.
And it's right in that proximity, you know, Hong Kong, Singapore, Australia, New Zealand, you know, Malaysia. It's right, and Bali's on fire right now.
It is.
You know, everybody, when I moved to Bali from New York, from my club life days, everyone was like, why the fuck are you going to Bali? You know, people wear like backpacks and, you know, hippie stuff there. I was like, no, you're going to see in 8 to 10 years, you're all going to be coming to Bali. And now they're coming to Bali.
Everybody's coming to Bali. If you know, you're coming to Bali.
If you know, I mean, you know, the West's gone mad. All you people out there and, you know, in the States and Europe and Scandinavia, you've got to admit it's gone fucking nuts. I don't know what the fuck's going on, but
everybody I talk to, you know, I just tell them, hey, Bali's this amazing place. It's paradise.
We've got it all here. We've got culture, we've got the weather, the lifestyle. Yes, Pat.
Water, yeah, more.
Yeah, 2 water glasses, thank you. Yeah. No, I'm okay. I can use this one, thank you. Yeah, Bali's got the spirituality. It's got the culture. It's got certainly got the landscape. You know, you've got 4 or 5 different weather patterns here. You know, you've got the mountains of the north. My wolves love it up there. We have organic farms up there, so they love up in the north. You know, Kintamani, Badugal area. You've got, you know, the Bukit Uluwatu area. It's another weather type there. It's very barren, very dry. Yeah. You've got the jungles of Ubud. Yeah. You've got, you know, West Bali, East Bali. I mean, who needs to go? I mean, it's got everything.
It's a big island. Yeah?
It's a big island. If you travel, but you get stuck in Kuta or Legge, and then you've got the nightlife. You know, we're you know, amongst other things that we do, or I do. We have you know, Savaya nightclub, which is probably it's the best club in Asia now. We just got
really
voted
nice. Yeah.
number 1 in Asia and top 6 in the world.
Yeah. If you guys don't know Savaya, it's on the edge of a cliff in Uluwatu. It's got this gorgeous view, you know.
It's magical up there. And we get all the big DJs up there.
It's amazing.
We have another place in Canggu called Desa Kitsune. We're building a couple more, a big one in Kuta now at the Discovery Mall.
Yeah, right here is a really interesting place too. You were just giving me a tour today. It's like this what do they call it? This
is Nuanu City. So Nuanu City is just up the coast from Canggu, almost at Tanah Lot. It's the vision of Sergei Solonin. This amazing, incredible, you know, huge parcel of land here on the beach or on the ocean, with amazing, just creative stuff, art. You know, it's for visionaries and art and entertainment and eco-friendly, and it's got it all. Yeah. And now it's got a pack of wolves.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Which you know, I'll probably be putting that in this video, probably in the beginning, so you guys should have already seen that by now. Of
yeah,
course.
they're a good leader.
The wolves are so cool, man. They're so beautiful. They're huge. They're
Thank you,
amazing.
thank
You just don't see that very often. You know?
Well, yeah, especially
It's really
compared to
unique.
Bali dogs that are very small, and so it takes a
Right.
bit of adjustment for people to get used to it.
Most of the island dogs are like
they're
these wiener dogs.
pretty massive creatures, but they're very gentle, and that's the whole point of the wolf lodge, is to help educate people, as to especially the kids, as I said, all about wolves. And but let's jump back a bit, because after skateboarding finished, and I was basically sitting in Brighton and going, what the fuck do I do now? I'd been in jail for a while, and I just got back to Brighton. I go, oh God, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
So I started working selling insurance, and if you've ever sold insurance door to door, you will know that it is the most disheartening, soul-destroying, horrible fucking thing on
life insurance.
Life insurance.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So I put a suit on. I'd saved up enough money in jail by ducking and diving to buy a Jaguar XJ12, a powder blue. So I had my suit. I was driving a Jag around. Yeah. Selling insurance, and doors getting slammed in your face. I mean, that was probably one of the that was tougher than jail. Doing that. But so I said, so many stories. Long story short, I met a bunch of guys from New York, these young, wild, wacky, crazy kids from New York, and they said, why don't you come to New York? And I was like, okay. And I had this. At that time, I had a little powder blue 911 Porsche, and I was getting stopped by the cops all the time. And of course, I had no license anymore, because they took that away. So I was just getting arrested all the time in the Porsche. So I was, oh, fuck it. So I sent the car over to America and sold it for a lot of money, because the dollar against the pound was. So we started a business doing grey market cars, bringing cars into America. Made a ton of money. But then we bought these really expensive cars. A couple of Rolls Royces, a slant nose 930 Porsche turbo, and my partner smashed them all to pieces without insurance, and I've lost everything. So I'm sitting in New York, broke again, but I'm not going back to England, because I know what's going to happen if I go back there. And so I was doing two jobs. I'd been going to this super cool place with the Porsches. And I'd come, and they'd come sit down, drink champagne. And we were kings of the world for a moment. But then next minute I was going and asking for a job as a waiter. So I'd never had a job before. So I went to work as a waiter at this really cool place, and all the cool people, like Mick Jagger was there, and Sting, and all these people. And I was a waiter, so I'd make up these personas to every table. Fritz the German, would you like a sausage with your pasta? And all these personas. I had fun with it, and then I started. Well, that was the evening job. In the daytime, I was a debt collector for the Russian mob, actually.
No shit.
Yeah, so I started delivering furniture. I had some Russian friends, as one does, and I was delivering furniture for them in the Bronx, Harlem. The worst fucking places on the planet. Me and this crazy Israeli guy who just got out of the military, and we were two white boys going to the South Bronx. This is at the height of the crack epidemic. So these places, everyone was shooting at each other. It was bonkers. We were in so many gunfights, and we go to the projects. The projects up in the South Bronx. And there's thousands of apartments, and they're all just shooting at each other and throwing stuff out the window. And they didn't know if we were cops or just fucking nuts. Two white kids. And I had a Rolls Royce as well. I still had a Rolls Royce, an old Rolls Royce. So we put up in the Rolls Royce. We had guns.
They think they're drug dealers.
Handcuffs, yeah, of course. So they didn't quite know what to make of us. And we started delivering furniture, and then we were delivering TVs and jewelry. And then when they didn't pay, as the company got bigger, one of the boys says, Markovin, we need repossessions, we need the money. So I was like, okay, I'll start collecting. So we go into these projects to repossess that jewelry and find these people. If they didn't have the money, I let them off. If it was like a family that really couldn't afford it, I'd put the file at the bottom of the thing, and 6 months later, for 6 months they wouldn't get a visit. But if they were really trying to rob us, I'd find them. And I was actually became really good at collecting debt. So at the granddad, so I was debt collecting in the daytime.
Wait. We can't skip past this part. This is the fucking best part. So explain the debt collection process. You show up there at the door with.
Well, first of all, you have to find them.
Okay, yeah.
So you do skip trace, you do social security number, investigation calls. You know, when you're a street kid, you find things, you know.
For sure.
Neighbors, tips, bribes, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
So I always found them.
Personal investigator.
And then we'd track them and stalk them, and then we'd fucking get them. And again, you know, if they genuinely
intimidate them, right?
Well, that did happen a couple of times.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And,
maybe sometimes you didn't have to do that.
I mean, I try not to. I try to explain it's just not worth running because, you know, we'll find you.
Right.
And, you know, in America, you know, the way it works is, you know, with credit, and a lot of this stuff was done on credit, and then they just run for the credit. So, but some they were professionally robbing us, like, you know, lots of different identities and running up their max on credit ability, and then just taking all that shit and selling it.
Right.
I mean, then you're robbing us. And, you know, and the Russians at this time,
they don't take
the early days of the Russians don't like getting robbed. So I had, it's another, another fucking story.
Use your imagination.
Yeah, there's a reason why we all got Russian mob tattoos, you know. But that was it. And then, so I was decorating in the daytime, and then I'd rush home and do my hair and go to work as a waiter, and meet all these fabulous people. And then I was like, this is the funniest story, because I thought I knew everyone. I was out every night, 7 days a week, all night long, you know, fucking sniffing my way through Manhattan, you know, with a gang of guys, and it was fucking nuts. It was bonkers. New York, you know, in the early mid '80s, late '80s was the best place on the planet. It was absolute 20 places a night. You could just go on and on and on, but like, you know, all night, till, you know, every day, and it was super cool and blah blah blah. And where was I? So nighttime doing that, daytime debt collecting, and we started a party quite a lot. So I thought I knew everybody, and I was speaking to Ronnie Wood from the Rolling Stones. He was coming to the restaurant. I say, Ronnie, I heard you got a club, but how's it doing? He goes, it's not doing so good, mate. You know what I mean? So I said, well, I'll tell you what, look, let me and my team, my friends, we'll come and I know so many fucking people. I'm going to fill your club. There's going to be hundreds of people there. Okay, give it a shot. It was on the Lower East Side of Manhattan. So it was a Monday night, and I made all these invitations, and I was like, you know what, there's going to be thousands of people coming. You know, extra security, put barriers down the block. You know, there's going to be a lot of people, Ronnie, and his manager of the club. So anyway, on the night, it was raining. It was a rainy Monday night, and no one showed up. 3 people. I was hiding under the DJ booth.
Oh, shit.
I was so fucked. It's like, you know, when you invite people to your party and no one comes, or your dinner, imagine the stress. I mean, people don't really get club promotion.
Any idea why? Like,
I just did it all
rain,
wrong.
or just
it was the rain. It was the wrong
combination,
night.
right? Yeah.
Mark fucking Baker. Yeah,
Something else was going on.
Everyone knows you, but no one's coming to your party. So that was probably. Forget jail, forget getting shot, stabbed,
the humiliation,
you know,
so much
pistol
worse.
whipped, all of that's nothing compared to having 3 people show up at your fucking party. So I was so embarrassed. I hid under the DJ, and people came in, is Mark, you could hear them, is Mark here? They were tumbleweeds. And then, in fact, it was so bad that later on I could tell everyone, oh, you should have been there. There were thousands of people. It was great. But that I could have crawled into that ashtray and fucking died that night. It was the worst. It was your whole self-worth. Do people like you? Drama.
Yeah.
So
Ego killer.
So I went away and I was like, I'm never, ever, ever gonna let that happen again, ever. So I went back to the drawing board, and back then, you know, these days, you know, club promotion, there was no such thing as club promotion. You know, there was clubs like Studio 54 and Xenon and eventually Area, but that was the club, had its reputation, and people came. I changed that with 3 guys in New York City, basically. Yeah. We started the business of club promotion. Wow. So back at that time, I was friends with all these European models, and you know, this one, and you know the names. And that at that time, the models were all chasing the rock and roll stars. But then George Michael and Terry Mugler did this whole video with, you got to have faith with the models. Suddenly these fucking girls were superstars. They were supermodels, and they were all friends. So, and they were my friends. So what I did was, I started, and there was a change. Then the celebrities started chasing the models. So I basically got all my friends into my parties, and then later clubs, to basically be the bait for everyone else to come. So my first big party, when I did it right, this next time, there were 3,500 people showed up on an aircraft carrier, 4,000 every week. They had to shut the fucking blocks down, as was originally intended, to show. And then we became, we were the first legendary club promoters and business. And then we started bottle service. Don't hate me, I know everyone fucking wants to kill us for that. But when we did it, it was like, if you wanted to go, the waitress, we were sitting at tables, and the waitress, every time she tried to come through the crowd, somebody would fucking knock them over and smash the drinks, and this poor girl, every time. So I was like, just put the bottle on the fucking table, was, you know, and then that was cool. Got a bottle on this, bottle of champagne, a bottle of vodka. Then, of course, now they want, 50 bottles on the table, or you're not getting in. But
it's like a show-off thing.
That started, and then we opened up my first club, Metro CC. 50. I think we have 40 to 50 clubs and restaurants in New York. I think I got the nickname the Godfather of Nightlife of New York. Should have been grandfather probably, but Godfather. And
well, I mean, considering the Russian ties, I think Godfather's
retired. You know,
technically it'd be Italian then.
Well, the Italians, let's start with the Italian, or the Albanians, or the Vietnamese. I mean, everyone's got a game. New York, come on, fucking New York City.
Come on, the gang's in New York.
You have to negotiate everything. And we did, as club owners with that many people and that much money, of course, Gambino and fucking John Gotti and the Bonanos and the fucking, all of them, we all knew, obviously we know who they were, they knew who we were. But it was always they were always welcome. And then, of course, there was Puffy and Jay and all the whole rap thing, and they were one of my clubs.
And
Lotus.
this is in the 90s, right?
Yeah, well, 94.
Okay,
that was started it, and then 2000 I opened up Lotus. It's probably one of the most famous clubs, supper clubs ever in New York City. Went for 8 to 10 years. It was the Oscars every night. So basically, for 20, 25 years, we organized every party, clubs. We started most of the trends of the big DJs in massive industrial spaces to small, intimate VIP lounges. Then we started, we were part of the bespoke cocktail lounge where Sasha Petrovsky from Milk and Honey, he created a beautiful menu for us. So we, you had to, in New York, a club lasts for a year and then they move on because there's just so much joy. So we always had to keep reinventing ourselves and coming up with new trends, which we did. And then, of course, we started, because New York was sort of the capital of the nightlife world. Then I started to go to Russia a lot again.
Wow, cool.
And then London, Milan, Paris.
Kind of expanding now.
Yeah, every fashion week.
Sure.
Paris, Milan, London, Saint-Tropez, Film Festival, Grand Prix, Monaco. So, because we had all the celebrities and all the supermodels in our clubs in New York, and they were friends. So when they went to a fashion week or a Grand Prix or a film festival, we just take the whole fucking show on the road and go do the part. And then I partner with the local top guys, and we throw these. So we were just non-stop on these private jets. God. Fucking drinking and boozing and partying, but we functioned. We were.
Yeah, I was going to say, how in the world did you still function? I mean,
miraculously.
You must have been getting fucked up constantly.
We were getting fucked up all the time. Not really bad. I mean, when you're 30s,
functionally fucked up.
30s and 40s, it's okay, but you start getting into your 50s, the recovery time is really bad. So we had this roller coaster. I mean, we had all. I'm sorry.
Like Wolf of Wall Street style.
Well, Jordan's a good friend. Right. So in the movie, he was just here actually. He came to see the Wolves. So Jordan Belfort, Wolf of Wall Street, bless him. That party at his house that Leo does, I did that party.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and the car he smashed up was sick. My Ferrari.
No way. Yeah. Get out of here. Get out of here.
It's all there. It's all in his seat. So yeah, Jordan's amazing, and of course I first met him. I was like, why have you got that fucking FBI tracker on your fucking leg? Well, I found out later on. So Jordan's great. Those were the days. Yeah. It was in the Hamptons, New York. And you know the Hamptons. We were just on this. I mean, sorry, we had the private jets, we had the Ferraris, we had the boats, we had fucking all of it. I still couldn't believe we were getting paid to party.
Right.
I'm getting paid
Hey,
to live this.
You're the best, bro.
You know, and then
these are the best parties.
But you know, that can only last so long.
Yeah, it's like the drug business. There's always competitors.
And then you know, the young kids. Look, okay. So when we were doing promotion, we drive around Manhattan. We were bicycling around Manhattan, handing out invites at all the model castings, and you know, hey, you're on the street. You know, we were cute.
Yeah.
I had this cute team of promoters. These guys who were like, you know, just super cool. And we had this bicycle gang, and so all the girls, all the models, and then we'd invite them to the parties. But then somebody came up with Facebook. Like, so
Oh, right.
this can take hours. Anyway, long story short, when we promote, we pick up the phone and call everyone. Or we had I had supermodels in their panties on Friday, stoned out their brain, just faxing to everyone. Here's the party. It was like, you know. So fax out Fridays became, you know, you can just imagine them all fucking in these gorgeous girls. I had a loft with like 15 models living there, you know. It was crazy. And then somebody came up with Facebook, where you just, you know, get all these friends, and then you could just press a button and send it to them.
Right.
And then it was hundreds of them, and then it was thousands of them. And it changed the whole game of promotion. So I started to put together these big teams. You know, we started with 4 people doing promotion, and then it became 10 and 20 and 200 and 2,000 and 20,000. Now there's millions of promoters. Everyone's a fucking promoter.
Yeah.
So we started that too.
Yeah, I mean, that's what Vegas is. It's a bunch of people.
Well, what happened was, so we had one of the clubs in New York, it's called Life, the School of Life. So we had all these the young top guys, you know, who had different demographics in New York. Some had the models, some were, you know, Upper East Side, some were Lower East Side, West Side, you know, just different gangs. And these kids had all been like, you know, Brown University educated, and they were going to college and blah, blah, blah. They were smart. They were business savvy. I mean, we never went to fucking school. They took the business of promotion to a next level. So one day, one particular promoter who's very well known was like, Mark, I go, how many venues are you doing? My venue with your A team. How many venues are you doing like a night? He goes, about 15 venues a night. Wow. From New Jersey to Atlantic City to New York to Vegas. How many people are on your team? 200. What the fuck?
Holy
so he's getting
shit.
paid like 2, 3, 4, 5 grand for me, and from everyone times 10 venues a night. Do the math. And he's paying the promoters like $100 or $200, so he's fucking banking. So then he went to Vegas.
Yeah.
They offered me $4 million to go to Vegas and stay there for 18 months to do Caesar's Palace with a group. I turned it down.
Why?
For all the money, I'd spend that money in fucking 4 months on hookers and coke.
Yeah.
So, you know, so no point in doing that.
It's true though.
And but Vegas took off. They took it to another level, and these guys weren't partying like we were partying. You know, we had the VIP. There's a handful of us in New York who had like the best places, and we were old school. Yeah. But we had VIP. VIP meant VIP. I mean, doesn't matter how much money you're spending, you're not getting in that door. And we were proud of it, but we were making money. I mean, tons of money, but not. These kids suddenly turned that into anyone can come in if you pay 5 grand, 10 grand, 20 grand a table. These people doing $1 million nights. Yeah. And they completely changed. And then as time went on, and I got pretty much sober from the bad stuff. Yeah. And I started a juice company in New York, and I just said, you know what, I've had the greatest run. I'm still alive. I haven't had a heart attack yet. It's time to hand the baton over to the next generation, of which I'm really fond of these. I call them my kids. There's about 15 of them who basically dominate the nightlife business across the planet now. Yeah. And we talk all the time. So I said, you know, I'm out. I cashed out my juice company for a lot of money. Made more money from juice than I ever did with clubs. Crazy. Crazy cold pressed juice and organic things. And I was and Bali had always been, the go-to place, the checkout. You know, Miami, Vegas, or Los Angeles was never an option. Yeah. I love Bali. I've been coming to Bali every year. You know, hug a tree, cry for a month, and then go back and not sleep for 11 months. You know? And that was it in Bali. Bali was it. Bali saved my life.
It's fantastic.
And I got these great memories. And then, of course, once I got here, and I'm never doing it again, and the girlfriend was like, okay, thank God we're out. You know, you said, God, we've got money, you're alive, and no more clubs. And then, of course, they opened up a club.
Yeah.
I couldn't. It was just like, well, just one more club.
Right.
And we opened up Townhouse in San Bernardino, which was huge for a year or so. And then we moved on from that.
Yeah.
And then, of course, now Savaya and Katunia. But that's only part-time.
I mean, you know the business so well, and you know a lot
Yeah.
of people. I mean, why not?
Yeah, you certainly learn from your mistakes. And now, of course, internationally, everyone who's coming to Bali, obviously, I get the call first from, especially, the celebs.
Sure,
and but just, everyone's coming to Bali, see Mark, because I've been here now.
Yeah.
I mean, I just figured out I've been here 15 years.
Amazing.
Where does time go?
Yeah, time flies.
How long you been here?
It is 5 years living here, another 5 or so visiting. Yeah.
It goes quickly, right?
It does go quickly. It's nice out here, man. You just tend to sort of let the days pass. It's so relaxing.
Yeah.
You can live stress-free out here. You don't need a whole lot of money to live on, and you can make a great business out here.
Yeah, you can, especially now as well.
Oh yeah.
But it's good. It's good to have structure and have a job.
I mean, the pandemic really threw a curveball at a lot of businesses. A lot of people.
I lost 4 restaurants
Yeah.
and 2 other businesses during COVID. Everything.
Pretty
and
poison.
I really went broke during COVID because it was so bad. But
any local business.
But being broke in Bali is better than
right.
Rich.
Again, you don't need much money to live here, so it's like you got some savings or whatever. Like let it go, things will start up again, and they did. So it's great.
And most of you, where are you guys all from? Everyone, where are you?
Right?
Around the world?
Yeah, I think a lot of Indonesian, but also the U.S., Australia, Europe. Yeah.
Well, look,
all over the world.
Indonesia's amazing. The GDP of Indo's going through the roof. Jokowi.
It is. It's growing a lot.
Did a great job
it's an independent
raising
country.
the middle class, independent.
Still.
Indonesia's a powerhouse.
It's a democracy. That's wonderful.
It's amazing.
It could have been a communist country after World War II. Like they were on track to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
The U.S. pulled some crazy fucking shit to make sure that didn't happen.
Yeah, exactly.
But, I mean,
yeah, they did.
It is what it is.
They supply all of.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. It's a
But
long
yeah,
story.
Indo's this, and Bali obviously is the little one of the crown, one of the jewels in the crown.
What's amazing about this place is the people. Like the people really do make it amazing. The people are so friendly.
Amazing.
It's so fucking cool. It's just so different from a lot of places in the world.
Yeah, and look, I'm not going to knock neighboring countries, but there's not a huge sex industry here.
Right. Thailand is a bit more. It's a little bit more in your face.
It's more in your face.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously it's here, but it's not in your face.
Exactly.
And then of course
there's no strip clubs.
And there's no. In Jakarta there's a couple.
Yeah, right. Well, they're like
a couple on Sunset, but not. It's not.
But not like
blocks
in your
of
face,
dirty
though.
old men
Exactly.
walking down looking for fucking underage girls.
Exactly.
And then the drugs here. We don't have copious amounts of drugs, thank God.
There's really harsh drug laws.
There's strict laws here. So when you look at similar party islands like or places like Tulum or Ibiza, and they're great, but there's a big drug culture there.
Yeah, and with that comes mafia and all the crime
and the mentality is just it's just they do crazy shit to your head and it changes your personality and it gets dark and sinister at 6 a.m.
People get
Dude,
meaner,
Bali, everyone's beautiful here.
Yeah.
Everyone's got to be in the gym at 8 a.m. So that's why we have all these outdoor clubs now. I don't know that many really dark and dingy 5, 6 a.m. clubs.
Right. They just got torn down actually just the other day. The ones in Kuta.
I heard. There's this, everyone's got to be beautiful here. So, which is great. So go party, have a few drinks.
Yeah.
Or a few more, but you're up in the morning to go to the gym and do healthy shit, which is, especially for me, it's great. So I don't get tempted to go into trouble anymore.
That's good.
And I love it. So you can manufacture your own life here and live your dream. Dreams really do come true. They may take some time and a lot of work and a lot of disappointments, but never give up. Never, no is not an option. There's always a way, under or over or around, and do it the right way. Robbing and stealing and cheating people isn't the way to go. It'll backfire on you.
Yeah.
Bali is a very, very climatic island with very, very quick cause and effect. So all you people visiting Bali, and you hear stories of people going crazy and misbehaving. That comes with alcohol, of course. But just respect Bali, love the culture, love the people, immerse yourself a little bit in the culture as well, because I mean, half of what Bali's so special is the culture and the religion and the banjar and the pura, the temple and the ceremonies. You know, do a bit of that will make you understand and enhance your experience in Bali, as opposed to just going and getting fucked up every day. So you know, make a balance of it. So I'm so lucky, you know, I've managed to sort of, you know, craft this life now where, you know, I'm in the mountains sometimes on our organic farms. I party at the weekends. You know, I've got the walls. We do TV production and whatever else, and I mean, juices. You know, we just got a little bit, and it's constantly. I'm constantly moving, so I'm not stuck in one place all the time, and I think what you're for all you young people. Look, it's great to have the toys. It's great to have a Ferrari and the cars and the bling and all that, but it's not everything. And you know, just as I said, just do it the right way, and enjoy the journey as well. You know, Bali's a great journey.
Yeah.
So there we are.
Yep, here we are. I mean, really.
Here we are. In
here we are in Bali.
And with that, I think we're going to wrap it up.
Yeah.
And I hope it's been interesting. All the obviously I have to do some promotion to my heart.
Yeah, please.
So there'll be a little list of what we're up to with the farms, the wolves. Please come visit. If there's any great skate stuff going on, let me know. I'd love to come see. I do love to watch.
Yeah, for sure.
I wish I could do it, but we'll see.
That's all good.
Yeah, good. And keep skating. Skating's brilliant. The skate community is amazing. Indo skaters are just mind-blowingly good. Hopefully we'll get some Indo skaters in the Olympics at some point. Yeah, keep going, stay rad, man. Be good.
Thanks, Mark. Appreciate you.
Absolutely.
You're the man.